Thank you, everybody, for joining this webinar today. I think we have a good demand and interest on this topic. Seems like a lot of interest, and a lot of folks have RSVP'd. People are trickling in. So thank you very much for that. My name is Raju. I'm part of a company called CloudOpti, and we host periodic webinars, especially on the cloud topics and so on and so forth. So today's webinar is brought to you by actually CloudOpti. I'm going to take one slide and quickly talk about CloudOpti, what we do, and then hand over to our speaker. So CloudOpti is a SaaS platform for cloud optimization, and we think optimization from four pillars: optimizing the cost, performance, where you spend a little more money, but you actually optimize for performance, not only just being conscious about cost, but balance both those things. Security is a big element, and I think the biggest one, it's a beast, and very rightful topic for today. And that's why I think the buzz and the interest as well. I think for sure, this is an area which will continue to become in more demand and interest, and as AI and several other things come in, I'm sure Vicky is going to touch a lot of that. So that's one of the pillars, and then we have compliance. So these are four pillars of cloud optimization. We have a free account. So if you go to cloudopti.com, there'll be a free account. There are free trainings, free certifications, and several programs. So happy to help anybody, or you can go there and refer it. But with that, we'll get to the topic for today. Our speaker, Vicky. Thank you for joining, Vicky, and thank you for accepting to speak on this event. And this is a high-level overview. I'm sure Vicky is going to touch in details. But we are covering the topic of cloud security from different angles, from the common challenges, the best practices. There are a lot of tools, but it's still untapped area and a challenging area, and a lot in demand. I think it's a great career as well. So people looking from the career perspective can look at from that angle. So all of that is going to be covered in the next 40-30 minutes, and we'll open up for question, max an hour, and then we'll open up for Q&A in the end. Feel free to put your questions in the chat. With all that said, I want to just quickly introduce Vicky and hand over to her. Vicky has started her career in the Big Four, E&Y, and works as a senior manager in a public company right now. And she has a wealth of experience in the public companies, including Visa as a senior manager, startups, and with some as large as 700 million funding. She has several great certifications from which she has under her belt. She's a certified information system auditor, Six Sigma Green Belt, an auditor, and worked with 40+ different clients, ranging from startups to all the way from Fortune 500 companies. So we're glad to have you, Vicky, over here. And with that, I'll hand it over to you. I'm going to stop the share, and you can take it from there.
Cool. Thank you so much. Okay, let me share my screen right now. Can you guys see my screen okay?
Yes. Yeah, we can see it, but it's not in the presentation. Yeah, now it went in the presentation mode. So,
cool. Hey, hello everyone. My name is Vicky Wang, and glad to share some information about the cloud security with you today. So a quick disclaimer here. And then I want to give you some information about me. In summary, I have 14 years professional experience in IT audit, IT security compliance, business process design, program management, and leadership. Currently, I work as a senior manager in a public company and also teach in the university for the cybersecurity. At my personal time, I'm also run a small meetup group called Chasing Polo Cybersecurity for Emerging Tech and Entrepreneurs. We do have monthly events as well. If you are interested, you can always join our activities. The link is below. For today's agenda, we have a couple of things we want to cover. Hopefully we have enough time. So first of all, let's understand what the cloud is. So cloud service provides cloud computing on demand through the internet. It uses a pay-per-use pricing method based on subscription, licensing, and centralized hosting. Speak of the birth of cloud service, we must mention Mark Benioff. in Silicon Valley. This is some story I want to tell you today. Very interesting one. In 1998, Mark started to build Salesforce when he was still working at Oracle. He saw a trend of online simplicity led by the online bookstore called Amazon. And he wanted such an innovation for the enterprise software. So he talked to Oracle co-founder Larry and got $2 million in the initial Salesforce funding. And
So Vicky,
Salesforce make a software a public utility like power industry.
yeah. So Vicky, sorry to interrupt, but I think I don't know if you're going forward in the slide. We still see the first slide on the title slide, cloud security overview.
Yeah, this is some story.
Okay.
It's not
Okay,
on the
sure.
slide, but I want to share with people. Yeah.
Yeah. So sorry. Yeah, people are pinging. That's why I just thought just let you know. Okay, please go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. So the cloud service provides IT resources on demand through the internet, uses a pay-per-use pricing price based on the subscription licensing and centralized hosting. There are 5 advantages of cloud service. The first one is on-demand self-service to ensure service is available when you need it. And then scalability to increase the capability with demand. Then we have elasticity to expand and contract quickly. Then we have broad network access to anywhere. And the last but not least, reduce the operation and maintenance costs. So from a high-level cloud architecture standpoint, the cloud architecture is divided into 2 points. At the front end, you can see this picture, right? At the front end, from the way you're familiar with, it contains all user interfaces and applications which are used by client to access the cloud computing services and resources. For example, use of the web browser to access to the cloud platform. I think most of you tried the SaaS solution, so you know how it works. At the back end, it contains the resources such as and also manage the resource and provide the security mechanisms. It also includes storage, virtual applications, virtual machines, traffic control machines, and deployment models. So regarding the cloud deployment models, there are 4 types. They're private,
So Vicky, sorry to keep interrupting, but I don't know if you're thinking about, you said like, can you see, but we still see the title slide, cloud security overview. Is that what you?
Can you guys see currently the pages on cloud deployment?
No, we see the cloud security overview title slide.
Wait a second.
You want to stop share and try again? Yeah.
Yeah. Can you see now?
Now we see now we see the first slide with 4 clouds. Yeah.
Okay. Regarding the cloud deployment models, there are 4 types: private, public, hybrid, and community. The private one builds and runs its own cloud infrastructure or pays another org to do so on its behalf. The public cloud has a multiple tenancy model. The cloud providers provide massive infrastructure and then make those resources available to everyone. For the hybrid cloud, it's a combination of public and private cloud computing, while community cloud is similar to private clouds and are not open to the general public. So far, we have 3 cloud service categories. The first one is software as service. The public cloud provider provides the entire services, and people just plug in and use it. And then the second one is the platform as a service, that vendors provide customer with a platform where they can run their own applications code without worrying about service configurations. And then the last one, but not least, infrastructure as a service. Vendors protect the physical infrastructures and the virtualizations, whereas the customer provides the operating systems, applications, and data. Now we move to the cloud security. First of all, I want to give people some understanding of the triangle for cybersecurity. We have confidentiality, availability, and accessibility, right? And all three things is try to protect the data within the system. And for the cloud security, it's a practice of protecting cloud-based data, applications, and infrastructures from cyber attacks and threats. It majority of the time, it includes VPN, firewall, penetration testing, tokenization, and avoiding public internet connections. So why it's important? Speak of that, we do have a story, right? But overall speaking, cloud amplifies the impact of the security incident, right? If you are on premise, you may have a few machines, and when the cyber attack get into the system, it only impact one company. However, if you go to if they attack to the cloud-based service, then maybe there are multiple companies or millions of accounts will get impacted. One example is Dropbox in 2012 incident. So in 2012, Dropbox suffered a data breach that exposed the email address and hashed the passwords of over 68 million users. The attackers gain access to Dropbox cloud infrastructure by stealing login credentials from a Dropbox employee. So you can say there's a huge impact, right? And with cloud security, you can enhance the protection of your digital assets and mitigate the risks associated with human error, reducing the likelihood that your org may suffer on a damaging loss from avoidable branches. So now we start to talk about the revenue, shared responsibility model. So you can see from the different type of cloud service, there are different type of responsibilities. The key concept is very simple, right? The provider will take some of the responsibility, and the customer will take some of the responsibility as well. So normally, most of the provider will provide the physical security service for sure. And if it's a SaaS solution, customer will responsible for the data classification and also try to cover some of the identity and access management. For the piece, customer will cover endpoint protection, which is kind of like the computer or your device protection and data classification. And for the both parties, they will cover the risk on the identity access management, application controls, and network controls, while the provider will take full responsibility for the infrastructure and physical security. Similar for the S, right? Customer will take more responsibility from data to application controls. Both sides will take responsibility for network controls and infrastructures. And last one, the physical security will take care by providers. And we have four type of cloud security threats. So first one is insider threats. It's kind of like the cybersecurity threats come from within the organization. Usually, it's like current or former employees, which has direct access to the company's network and sensitive data or IP. They also familiar with the business process and company policy, which would help carry out such an attack. Here's one example from the Tesla. Tesla had a major data breach just because two former employees who leaked the sensitive personal information. That's why when people left the company, the first thing company need to do is to terminate their access. The second one is a zero-day explorers. Zero-day explorers targets the vulnerability in popular software like Microsoft Office or systems. And those are the vulnerability people find out, but the vendor hasn't patched. So from the zero-day exploits, the APT can gain access to large number of systems at high-profile organizations. We will talk about APT in the next slides. So we do have one example for SolarWinds, right? They had a supply chain attack in the organized cybercrime group. Actually found out a zero-day vulnerability, and they did a attack and again the foothold within the environment, which is very, very serious at that time. And then we're talking about the advanced persistent threats, which is the APT we just mentioned in the previous slides. It's an advanced persistent threats. Is a status threat actor. Typically, it's made by a sponsored group, and they gain the unauthorized access to the computer and stay within the environment and move the workload around and search for the sensitive information to steal or sell to the highest potential attackers. They normally start using the zero-day and get into the system and stay there for a couple of months, try to say what's the best value they can do. The last one is a cyber attack. Cyber attack is attempt by the cyber criminals, hackers, or other ways to access to the system, and usually for the purpose of alerting, stealing, or destroy the information. It has a lot of different ways, including malware, phishing, denial of service, and DDoS, right? Here we put a one DOS, which is denial of service, as one example. The denial of service attacks is to render a system or service unavailable. And so organizations need to implement such traffic alerts, intrusion detection systems, or like a load balancing or cloud protection to minimize the impact of the denial of service attack. We do have one example here. So regarding, just one sec. So here, we want to have a quick overview about the risk points in the cloud security, right? So you can see in this chart, this is a basic architecture of the cloud computing and cloud from a simple way. And we normally, when we look at the cybersecurity, we look at from three angles, right? People, technology, and process. From people angle, we're going to do the risk point is at the entity level awareness. People need to fully aware of the the importance of the cybersecurity, and they need to make a periodical training and look at the code of conduct. Also, try to have enough skill set. Um, and then we look at the technology. From the technology standpoint, we look at endpoint device, which is your cell phone and PC, other thing, right? And then we look at the identity and access management. Normally it's password setting, key management, user provisioning, deprovisioning, user access review. We also look at the network, look at the segment, look at how network configured, right? And we look at application security. We look at the data security. We also look at infrastructures and look at physical data center to make sure right person can access to the data center. And then the last piece is the process. We look at logical access, change management, IT operations. And then now we move to common cloud security coverage area. First one is the one we just mentioned. It's a developer awareness. We encourage each company to train personnel to properly adopt to cloud environment. Some of the information really need to make sure they really understand, like if they got some suspicious email, like phishing email, they need to report, and also understand there are certain risks in the cloud environment we will talk about later. And then the second one is the identity and access management. This piece, majority of the coverage is try to creating the necessary roles and permissions for an enterprise of thousands of employees. Sometimes it's quite challenging for the cloud security environment. That's why we'll use some IAM tools, PAM tools to help company. The important piece of this area is it secures who can access to the data and what they can access and how they can access. They do have a role and access management and privilege access management called PAM, and strong authentication like password setting, multi-factor authentication stuff. Here I can give you one example. If you're a system admin, you definitely will be granted to the admin access, which can delete data, can read the data, can modify the data, can add the data, right? And but if you're a financial people, you may just have access to read through the data and cannot do anything else. So this is kind of like what we need to cover here. And regarding the multi-factor authentication, I can give you one example. It's like when you access to the browser, after you put username and password, system will ask, do you want to receive a text message to your phone, right? And then after you got text message, you got a code, and you put that code back to the browser, and it gave you the access, which is like a two-factor authentication. multi-factor authentication, they may have some more steps here. And then next one is application security. Application security is a process of finding, fixing, and preventing security vulnerabilities at an application level in hardware, software, and development process. It includes guidance on measuring for application design and development, and through the whole life cycle, including after the application has launched. We also have, for cloud security, we also have the security at the container level. Normally, we do the scan image to make sure everything is fine. And then when there's a DevSec operation, it's kind of like control things at the development cycle. Appropriate security controls will be identified and embedded in the code and templates early in the development cycle. It integrates security into agile continuous deployment pipeline, and also ensures stability and security of delivery channels. It also has some tools we'll talk about later. Then it's a data encryption, as we mentioned, right? In the security, cloud security, the most important thing is data. So there are a couple of data status when you talk about cloud security, right? Data can at rest, which means data stay in the system, and then data in use is data like when you put data, right? And then there's a data in motion, which kind of like data transfer between different servers or different interfaces. So during that time, there in order to make sure right people can see the right data, we need to do some encryption. When you encrypt a file or other form of data, you take it so like plain text form and use some mathematic way algorithm to transfer it to an encrypted key into a version that readable to somebody. And then at the time when you need to read it, you have the other key to decrypt it. If the encryption is strong enough, then the information will remain the safe. We also need to make sure the encryption key is stored in a centralized location and need to separately stored. Then next piece, which is important, is continuity detection and monitoring. There are multiple things we need to cover here. We can do the threat hunting and recovery planning, which is doing proactive way to detect where the vulnerability is, right? And then we can monitoring the cloud applications and workload as a sign of malicious activities. If you see the workload is suddenly become big, like the traffic become big, then it must be something wrong. Then you need to watch out, right? And then we'll also need to leverage advanced analytic powered by machine learning to detect unknown patterns. This one we have a little bit coverage at the end as well. The last piece is incident management and response. When you find out all those problems, how long you need to respond and fix it, how do you want to fix it, how do you evaluate the risks, and how do you remediate risks, right? This is a whole process you need to consider. And for majority of the company, like cloud provider, they're not allowed every customers go to their site to check the piece they are responsible for. So they also issue a audit report called SOC 2 report. SOC 2 report is a testation report, evaluate their company's ability to securely manage the data they collect from their customers and use during the business operations. This report will largely reduce the workload to have each customer's auditors on site, and also reduce the auditing fee from the customer standpoint. The provider just need to do one report and then give it to different customers on a timely basis. In order to make sure we cover all the points from the cybersecurity perspective, there are some frameworks I would recommend people who's interested in this area to take a look. The first one, of course, is ISO. ISO is an international standards provide the checklist to consider when you guys have a new system. So for cloud security, ISO 27017 and 27018 normally is specific for the cloud security. And we also have a NAST framework, which is a US-based body of international standards. It provides both framework checklist for the new system and also has some articles on specific problems. Then we do have the Cloud Security Alliance. They do have a lot of self-assessment forms, questionnaires to help audit third-party vendors and your own systems from the technical standpoint. So when you first try to implement the cybersecurity cloud security strategy, three elements you need to think about, right? First is the mitigate the risk. What are the security controls you want to have in place? And then also need to defend against the threats to ensure the codes and deployment are fine. And then you need to think about how to overcome the challenges and to implement the cultural and technical solutions. Here we gave one example, right? So for the API endpoint hosted in the cloud and explode to the public internet is a risk. And the attacker who tries to access to sensitive data use the API is a threat. And your organization's challenge is effectively protecting public APIs while keeping them available for the customers. So this is kind of like a general process, like how we think about the cloud security strategy. And here's some like a high-level best practice. First of all, of course, which is important, right? Choose a reliable cloud service providers. Here, I gave some cloud providers as one example, like AWS, Azure, and GCP, which is the major players in this field. And then try to understand your security responsibility. You can think of the responsibility table we just talked about in the previous slides, and decide which part is your responsibility, which part is their responsibility. To make things easier, you can ask them to provide a SOC report. In the SOC report, there's a portion called user consideration portion. They can tell you which responsibility belong to the provider, which responsibility belong to you. Here, the tricky part is some of the providers, they also rely on other providers to cover some of their responsibility. So when you see this piece, you also need to ask for additional SOC 2 report from the vendors, the first vendor rely on to read through and get the information. Then we'll think about strong authentication and implement the access control. Here, as the one provider information I gave here is Okta and WebAuthn. But there are a lot of tools in the market, right? You can think about it. I put the vendor information here is just for one example, not for the recommendation, okay? And then we do the implement encryption and protect data wherever the data lives or travels. We have AWS key management service you can consider. And then we look at monitor cloud activity and know your security posture, like Wiz, Listwork, Aukar. Those are the major big players in the market right now. And then a lot of cloud or SaaS solution, they use API to pass information and connect to the customer side. So we also recommend to secure API as well. Here, again, one example is Salt. And then number 7 is conduct regular security assessment. Here you can hire a bunch of different firms, depends on how much budget you have. They also have some like a automatic solution like Drata or Vanta. Then number 8, of course, when we talk about the people side, you need to train your employees to provide the awareness training. And then also look at how to implement the principles of zero trust. I think that Scalar is one of the good one in this area. Try to verify where's the explicitity and consider the use the least privilege access, which is give user limited access with just in time and just enough access. And also always assume branch minimize blast radiance and segment access. Okay, so here we're towards to end of our presentation. I want to mention about the cloud security with emergent tech. So starting a few years ago, people start to think about AI and how AI can help on the cloud security, which is very easy to understand, right? Because usually in the cloud environment, there are a lot of data from a lot of different companies, and it's very difficult for people to look at it manually. So use AI to make some actionable plan is very important. Starting last year, the generative AI has the potential to revolutionize how we use the technology, especially for the cybersecurity. This will help reduce the production cost and improve the production quality. Generative AI can help business identify patterns, trends, and potential issues in data, and also help them to proactively address the challenges and minimize risks. For example, generative AI can be used to detect cybersecurity threats and other things. I saw a lot of different user cases at very early stage. For confidential reason, I'll just try to make it like general here. So I think that's all about our presentation today. I want to stop here, see if anyone has any questions.
Yeah, thanks, Vicky, for the very overall view of security, and it's a great presentation. Before we open to Q&A, I just wanted to share a few resources in case people want to drop off. I did, and then we'll open up for Q&A. So I dropped a few different links in the chat. I'm going to share the screen so that I can walk you all through with those resources. But recommend that you all take a link, those links, and save it somewhere because few things are going to happen, the recording and so on and so forth. The first one is a different meetup groups. Several of you joined from Meetup or even Bright. So we have 6 different meetup groups. One is for AI. 2 of them are Google related. So we are official part of Google developer group in the Bay Area, but most of the events are online. So you can join the group if you're interested with a cloud or non-cloud general Google developer related stuff. We have a couple of them for interview prep and technical. All of these are free sessions and kind of sharing our knowledge in different forms. The last one is Microsoft. We're also a Microsoft partner. So we organize for Azure, Microsoft as well. So those are the 6 meetup groups we talked about. So feel free to join. The links are in the chat already. The next one, the free one, which is there, we have is on design thinking. It's on the 1st of February. It's in the evening. So an hour for there. That's an interesting topic as well. And just wanted to share the Cloud Opti, which is the another platform which is sponsoring or organizing the event today. And it's a SaaS platform which I'm part of. Has cloud optimization. You can log in. There's a free account which you can connect and really connect from all the angles, including security. It's self-managed, and you connect it and it gives you periodic. I think there is a free tier, always free, so that you don't have to really even go beyond that. If you're just looking for information and knowledge, we also have a training and a certification, which is a free thing, which I've posted the link as well. So feel free to go to this. This is a on-demand training, which has a certification. Cloud optimization, including security optimization, is a big area. I think there is a huge potential and career out there. So just wanted to share those resources. Last is the YouTube channel. I posted the link for that as well. The recording for this will be posted there. So that's in brief what we had. But really wanted to thank Vicky for the very, very informative session and really helping us with the broad understanding and great depth as well. The best practice slide was awesome. So I can see that. So we will just, I'll pause that. So with the, thank you everybody for joining. And thank you very much, Vicky, for the wonderful session. And really appreciate your time and effort. And I think really thank you for that. So with that, we'll close on to the event.
Just one thing, Raju. Happy birthday, Vicky, and congratulations on being selected to serve in the ISAC Emerging Trends Working Group for 2024. That's great.
You.
Yeah.
Thank you, and happy birthday again, Vicky. I think, yeah, and I'm glad that you're sharing all this information, knowledge, and doing. I think it's all volunteer effort, but I think that's what we are also trying to do, and it's great that we are helping at least our 2 cents to the community. So thank you, everybody.
Sure.
Thank you for joining, and see you.
I'll try to invite you guys to my group as well someday.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Raju. Thank you, Vicky.